Folks, welcome to this week's installment of the Misunderstood Evil Genius Show. Gonna start out this week by giving you a quick rundown of some big time happenings in sports, and then we'll get into your usual football picks and craziness that ensues anywhere throughout the program. Lance Armstrong is in a world of hurt right now. This week he's had to give up his Live Strong Foundation, which has done a whole lot of stuff for people with cancer, and he's also had to be dropped by Nike. Big time endorsements, all of that jazz. Anybody that knows anything about testicular cancer knows that testosterone replacement is part of the treatment. You gotta look at it like this: the man only has one ball. So he was getting some replacement somewhere of testosterone and whatnot. So by any means that I ever think that he was innocent of doing the doping deal. The thing that I'm having a problem with is that he was a one-man conspiracy machine that single-handedly had this international dope ring of cyclers going. I'm not buying that. Even though I don't give a damn about cycling, I actually kind of feel bad for the dude. Check that. I don't have feelings. I understand how life sucks for him now. We'll leave it at that. You've raised all these funds for cancer. You've made all this money for other people. You brought cycling back to life in America. The U.S. Postal Service was your main sponsor. All these other athletes were doing it as well. You helped prolong their careers and made them tons of money. And now you're just being considered as the scapegoat and pretty much the fall guy. So, welcome to life as a black athlete. Next up in big news, we're going to give you the inaugural Kobe Bryant Bitch Made Move of the Week award. You have to understand, I'm from the standpoint of looking at it as Kobe Bryant's habitual man code violations have earned him the ire and disdain of people like myself and anybody that sees through the facade. I mean, you have to understand that just because you have a whole bunch of championships doesn't mean you're not a bitch. Just ask A-Rod. You may be thinking right now, why is this dude hating on Kobe? Well, I only hate on haters. Kobe has brought this upon himself. Violation 1. You married a video hoe. I'm not one to knock a man's wife or love, but you were 22, she was 18, and all the older dudes in the league try to tell you, hey man, you don't mess with the video chicks, or do you get married this young because you are an NBA player and there's a lot of hoes out there. Didn't listen. Violation 2. So now it's a couple years later and you get caught up in a rape case in Colorado with some white chick with dirty draws. His reaction was one to dime out Shaq and say that, well, maybe he should have just paid her off like Shaq does all his hoes to keep them quiet. That's a bitch made move, dude. Bitch made move number 3. The actual rape case in Colorado. After you've been busted and embarrassed and had your whole life flipped upside down, you decide to hold a press conference where you're snot-nosed crying and buying gigantic purple diamonds for your wife so she won't leave you. That's great, you did that, but I didn't need to see the press conference. Now your next bitch made move is that you decide to pull a T.O. Say, I'm never playing for the Lakers again. I gotta get out of here. This is crap. And Phil Jackson or no Phil Jackson, and I'm out. Now, if you think I'm hating you, one day we'll do one of my rants on T.O. That's the biggest bitch made move you could ever pull. Now, there's been all types of subsequent bitch made moves in there. And on top of that, I still think you're one of the greatest basketball players to ever hoop, to ever touch the rock. But as you see why, you got your name on my weekly award for Bitch Made Move of the Week, and you win the initial Bitch Made Move of the Week award by what you did last week by calling out old players that you used to play with that weren't good enough by your standards and, quote, never should have been in the league. Chris Mims, Smush Parker, all those dudes, they sweat and bled with you out there. Whether they were good or not, you don't call people out by name like that. That's not champion-like, homie. That's not champion-like at all. So, take your award, Bitch Made Move of the Week. Deuces. Next up, we have Jerry Sandusky. Jerry Sandusky was an ex-Penn State coach who decided to use his status with the program to mess with little boys. Now, I'm not even going to get into how nasty and how wrong that is. I'm going to let our newest correspondent tell you how wrong it is. So next up we have our newest correspondent. This is Life Lessons with Mr. T.
What up, suckers? It's Life Lessons with Mr. T. This week's life lesson is about the Penn State football program. Now everybody knows about Jerry Sandusky messing with them little boys' booty holes. He just got sentenced to 30 years in prison. Wish he was younger, I'd give him 30 more years. Jerry Sandusky, you gonna have a hard time up on the yard. Have some of my homies mess you up real bad. Gonna have a hard time picking up your teeth with broken fingers, sucker. Penn State community, I'm tired of y'all jibber-jabbing and crying about how the NCAA done came down too hard. Shut up with all that. Mr. T don't care about your football program. Your coach was messing with little boys' booty holes. And your other coach just sat there and watched him do it. You don't just sit aside and be quiet while man is messing with little kids. Little kids ain't done nothing to nobody. And as for you, Joe Paterno, I don't like to speak ill about the dead, but I'd mess you up real bad if you was alive. I'm from the streets just as much as the next man, and I know about snitching rules. But if somebody's messing with little kids, little innocent kids, you supposed to snitch, or you supposed to have your lineman go in his office and mess him up. Plain and simple, sucker. Penn State football program, y'all deserve the death penalty. Jerry Sandusky, you deserve the death penalty. Joe Pa, you already dead, but in the afterlife, I'm gonna mess you up real bad. This has been Mr. T's Life Lessons. And another thing, don't be eating that sushi, raw fish. I don't want no raw fish. I want my food jibber-jabbing at me when I'm trying to eat it. Cook it.
Hope you enjoyed Mr. T's Life Lessons. Let's get into a little football now. Now, if you saw last night's game between San Francisco and the Seahawks, you might have thought you were watching a football game, but what I saw was a prison yard turf war. Brothers from San Francisco got their shit pushed in by the big brother with the championship belt over in Cell Block G last week. So while they were in the infirmary trying to put their eye back in the socket, the Sea Chickens tried to come in and claim the yard. Like many of you thought, I'm sure out there, what you should have thought was that San Fran was going to get redemption and take it out on the Seahawks, which is pretty much what happened. First off the bat this Sunday, we've got Tennessee versus Buffalo. Now, I'm sure we were all surprised that Tennessee beat Pittsburgh last Thursday night, but none of us should be surprised when Tennessee beats Buffalo this week. Buffalo actually does have 3 wins on the season, but 2 of them are against their own practice squad, so we're not going to count those. Indy versus Cleveland. So we've got the Rookie QB Bowl. This game is going to be brought to you by Coke Zero and Pepsi Clear. And it's quite clear that only one of these rookie QBs is going to be around next week. That's Andrew Luck. He gets the victory and the Rookie Bowl. Next up, we've got Green Bay versus St. Louis. They're getting the initial "we don't really need to discuss this game" award. Green Bay is going to win. We don't really need to discuss this game. Next up, we have Arizona versus Minnesota. Arizona's coming into this game with a quarterback that's better than the one they started the game with last week, but we haven't really given a damn to learn this guy's name or to care because they got beat by Buffalo. Minnesota at home. Next up, we have Washington at the Giants. We have the Giants, who are hot off their win. Washington, who's hot off a big win as well, and they're very dynamic. But we're going to go with the Giants in this one. But RG3 will give them a scare until the fourth quarter with his next Mike Shanahan-induced concussion. Next up, we have New Orleans at Tampa Bay. I'm going to take New Orleans just because their offense is pretty dynamic in this game. Plus, they've got Vilma back as inspiration. We all know that Roger Goodell tried to keep the Smurfs down by putting in another suspension. But you can't keep playing God, dude. The law has actually come down and said if you're going to suspend these dudes, we need the evidence. Dallas versus Carolina. Dallas should win this one, but every week they find a new way to show off their ineptitude. Cam Newton, this is the perfect time. The perfect time. You're coming off the bye week. You can beat Dallas and prove to everybody that you're not Vince Young. Make it happen. Picking you. Baltimore versus Houston. This one, I can't call it. Baltimore maybe have T-Sizzle back, but they might not. And Texans got exposed last week. Houston has a strong running game. So I'm a little worried on this one because it's like Baltimore, y'all was giving up the guts like a fat girl on prom night. And that was to the Cowboys. So I don't know. Basically, this one's going to come down to quarterback play. And I'm going to say it. Flacco is better than Schaub. So I'm going to take Baltimore in a tight one of those field goals.
This is Random Thoughts by a Single Father.
In real life, Dora the Explorer's mama, she could get it.
This has been Random Thoughts by a Single Father.
Next up, we have Jacksonville versus Oakland. And this game is the Do I Have to Watch the Whole Damn Game Bowl. It's going to be brought to you by 60 Minutes and the vice presidential elections. Do I really got to watch the whole damn game? Oakland at home, and it's probably going to be the only time they're favored all season. Oakland at home. Jets versus New England. Sanchez plays good every 3 games just to keep Tebow off his back, but he played good last week, so he's not going to play good again until week 9, which is actually the Jets' bye week, so they're going to lose. New England is coming off that tough loss in Seattle, which I told y'all was going to happen last week, so they're going to beat down the Jets pretty nicely. Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati. Both these teams lost to teams they shouldn't have lost to last week. And as stated in my first show, I'm always ride with my Bengals. You have to look at what these guys did in their time off between games. Cincinnati has worked on their defense, I'm sure, and has worked on their fourth quarter breakdowns. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh was playing PR to the public and bailing out their defensive linemen from going all Grand Theft Auto on the cops last weekend. Side note, police, security, law enforcement, there's times to shoot people and there's times to not shoot people. If you're going to shoot a dude for being a teenager and having some Skittles and his hoodie on, or for reaching into his back wallet when he was just trying to show you his ID that you had asked for, why would you not shoot a 350-pound lineman who just tried to run over you with his vehicle and then jumped out the car and charged you like a rhino? I would have shot that dude. Pittsburgh, y'all got real lucky. Last up, we've got Monday Night Football with Detroit and Chicago. Now, Megatron is my homeboy, but Stafford is not. And last time we saw the Bears, they were picking off Tony Romo 5 times. That has been this week's show. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, we're going to have a quick breakdown of the presidential election. But for now, I'm out like hairy private parts in a porn movie. Follow me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or your mama's couch. Deuces.